Now tune in for the 2-hour special event, the Dr. Psychology Interview Season Finale. Heads will spin, people will die, headcanon will be shot down, and it all happens right now.
Creativity is it's a wonderful, life-affirming experience. And so I know I am an artist. I mean, I draw things, I write. And so that probably is one of the things that I recognized early with the fandom when I saw all the art and I saw the videos and I reckon this is a wonderful outlet for creativity. And you know, if you're creative, you want an outlet. I mean, why create it and have it set on your computer? Why create it and have nobody see it? You want to share it, you know. And this fandom is a wonderful place to do that. So I look forward to the day when my fan fiction trilogy. I can tell you the title.
I was hoping for a title.
It's called Crossing Over, and the first book is called Crossing Over the Portal Stone. And the second book is called Crossing Over the Lost Pony Tribes. And the third one is called Crossing Over the Cult of the Creator Pony.
All right, then.
So little hint of it.
Yeah, names. Names are helpful. I would not remember to look up just random fan fiction. Hope it's yours. I'm sorry.
Well, it'll probably be under Dr. Psychology and Pat Edwards, but right now it's Crossing Over gives you a little bit of a clue of what is going on in the books too.
Well, speaking of fan fiction, I actually did get one question from all of the groups I asked about this interview. And in university days, there's another psychology professor pony named Dr. Psych. Are you in fact that pony?
In university days.
It's another story about, Octavia and Vinyl Scratch. Yeah. They go to college together, and they have a psychology professor
called Dr. Psych.
Yeah.
No, that this is the first time I've heard of him. But,
you've actually spotlighted that one on the show if you're interested. But.
Oh, well, I'll have to. Yeah. Is he balding and wears glasses?
Well, that wasn't my episode.
No.
And it's not really about him. Sadly, it's about the musician ponies and the relationship.
I had somebody look at my OC, Dr. Psychology pony that Will created, and they looked at it and said, he doesn't have a mate. Oh. I said, there's a reason he doesn't have a mate. And if you'd caught me about 4 years ago, he would have had a goatee. It was rather nice, too.
Well, if you can't think of anything and I can't think of anything, then I guess that concludes.
I'm always close, so I could always come by if there's questions generated or or data. I mean, we'll have data to discuss.
I'm really interested in you doing that meetup group following thing. I'd be very interested in helping you with that.
I'll talk with the others because I think, and logistically, it wouldn't be that difficult. In a sense of creating the little survey that would go up, and then it'd mainly be reaching out and trying to recruit kind of the different meetup groups.
All the little groups in our area here in the Carolinas are all pretty close and well connected, especially to the Charlotte group TBNC.
Yeah, they seem to be. And I wonder if that's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if you wouldn't find that kind of like Minneapolis might be a hub for some smaller groups. 'Cause I grew up in South Dakota, Mankato and Moorhead, and in other words, there'd be other smaller groups, but they would probably interact with.
Yeah, we thought there'd be stuff for here and Atlanta. Atlanta's group only has 10 people, and I know, and Silverhound lives in Atlanta, so it's just weird, but they don't do much either. But and our group only has 92, I think. No, wait, 91, because one of them quit today.
Sort of some of the Southern culture kind of thing, but
But still, I mean, you got one of the big three of the musicians lives in the town. You'd think there'd be more people wanting to try and meet him on accident.
Yeah. Although you have to, when we've looked at it, I know I had breakfast with Coder Brony, and actually we're looking at probably doing some things, with him, since we both have two big data sets, and we collect somewhat we overlap a little bit on data, but he finds the same kind of thing that we do. When you look at the distribution of bronies across the country, what you find is the West Coast, the Northeast, the Upper Midwest, pretty heavy concentrations. As you get more towards in the South, particularly we find Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, lowest numbers, and so, some of it is simply, I think the gender stereotypes are a little harder to overcome. Also, a little more conservative mindset where, boy things and girl things,
Right.
And so, I'm not surprised that the numbers are kind of smaller, although in some cases what that means is that it tends to help them bind even better because there's fewer of them.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll have to see. One of my experiences is that I think the fandom, and the BronyCon kind of points to this, is becoming younger and younger. It's pulling in more and more younger members. Some of the target audience, but one of the questions will be is if these girls, usually they abandon My Little Pony when they become tweens. Will this new wave make it through? So you'll be finding 16 and 17-year-olds who have liked it for 6 years.
Well, they might abandon it for a different reason. I mean, you also want to stop watching your father's shows.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but good research questions.
Right. You said something about Coder Brony. I don't know who that is.
Oh, Coder Brony is he's been involved probably about as long as we have, or he started shortly after we did. He does the herd census. And typically they put out much briefer kind of surveys that ask more demographics, where you live and how long you've been a fan, that. And he presents at BronyCon, he calls it the herd census. And so he has a lot, like we do, he'll talk about, how many bronies are percentage in college, percentage in high school, where are they at from around the world, And we get that kind of information, but he goes into it in more detail. He doesn't ask the questions we do about personality and identity and that. He's looking to do a little bit more of that, and we may end up working with him since we have that. We have that expertise.
Right. There's just so many people and so many things. It's hard to keep track of them.
Right. And there are some people doing research. There's also a group, and we reference them on our webpage, called Research is Magic, and there are two doctoral students, I think, University of Illinois, or Indiana, one of those. They put up a long interview they did with me, which you can kind of see. Interviews with me can become long.
Kind of long.
Because I always seem to have something to talk about. And they're trying to kind of create a central location where all of the research can reside. So, because we get a lot of questions. I mean, I think college students, high school students want to do a paper on the bronies.
I've had to be interviewed for several of those. Right,
and a lot of times they want to say, well, we need a reference, and we say, well, reference our webpage. But it'd be nice if, like, for example, now we have all these convention presentations. We're going to post each of them, so if somebody wanted to write a paper, they could, there'd be 8 potential references they could use. Each of them would. So, and I think that's good as they do that and that comes together. The more there's a central location, also that'll spurs more research because suddenly people see and they say, oh, that's fascinating. I think I want to ask this question. If you don't know what anybody's doing, you don't know what question to ask.
Right.
So.
What was the last one of those projects I had to do? The question for that one was, is the brony community an actual culture in the modern world, or is it merely a subset of the internet? I believe is what it was.
Who asked that?
It was actually for someone else's doctoral thesis in some other school.
Was it North Dakota?
No.
Okay.
It might not have been doctoral. It was
or thesis.
It was a thesis for something.
There are, and I think this is a sign that the fandoms are getting more and more. You're beginning to have more theses and dissertation, theses in particular, dissertations will come, that people are doing using the fandom. Daniel, who's our colleague, he has a master's in experimental psych, and he's trying to get in, and I'm sure he will, into a PhD program, and I suspect he will do his dissertation somehow using the fandom. But and that's a good sign. And those things, but there needs to be a central location, so like you could go and scan down the list of, oh, that's interesting, Edwards et al. Published here, and it would simply foster more research, and more people would add to it in that. So, the Brony study, again, I'm so thankful to the herd. We got out of the gate early. It was somewhat by chance. Will's telling me he was a Brony. It was because I have this background in personality and development and identity and psychopathology, and so I have this tremendous background, and I was able to bring that all together to create the survey. So it was a kind of a perfect storm, and now we're riding that wave. I will ride as long as it continues. I hope the fan fiction will add another dimension. I would dream of the day where I'd get invited to BronyCon, and that
for the
not
fan fiction,
just to present my data, but also to sign some books.
That's an interesting thing. Only 2 fan fictions have ever been published. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be the third, right? That's what you're going for?
Well, yeah. I'm trying to kind of create a niche. It'll be it's fan fiction, but it could be a vehicle that would bring even more people in, because...
Well, if you could manage to do that, then you'd be really horse famous, and then you certainly wouldn't know what to do then.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's Fallout Equestria, and I always forget the name of the other one, but, I mean, they're very big.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm just going to keep sort of doing it for the joy of it, and
joy of research, joy of ponies, joy of all.
Of writing and that, so... And I look forward to next year's BronyCon.
I'm already working on that. I have to get new roommates, though.
Yeah, I'm going to get my reservation soon. And we'll have to decide what we're going to... we may try to present the initial longitudinal data report. So, we'll have followed this group of bronies for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So we may be able to kind of start making a few statements about kind of how the fan changes and that. And we've got, if we do this other exposure study, we'll be able to speak to that too.
If you want to follow a really interesting group to watch change, there's a group in Puerto Rico. Most of them are the earlier group, and they're just kind of they join a lot of the other groups, all continental United States, and they get kicked out because they're all that 3% of the hipster group, or most of them are, but how their group interacts with the other ones has always been something I've found interesting.
Well, yeah,
it probably has something to do with Puerto Rico.
A group of hipsters would be an interesting, but also somewhat, within every fandom, within every social group, within every church, within every educational institution, there are always a certain subset that just simply seem to be there to stir things up, to mess things up. It's kind of like I talked to somebody who's talking with some of the people who produced the Rule 34 stuff, which our data tends to say. In fact, maybe that's what we'll talk about next BronyCon. We'll have to see. Is that most of it is not produced by bronies. Most of it is coming from outside. However, there is a subgroup of brony, and this person had interviewed a number of them, and it was interesting because they said, well, we're doing this to express ourselves and also to help loosen up the fandom. And it's sort of like how narcissistic and how hipster, because they totally overlook the destructive, the undermining impact
Stellar
this stuff
Eclipse.
has.
Stellar Eclipse, season 4 episode. There was a kid who got his character in it for a Make-A-Wish Foundation thing, because the Hasbro was worried about Rule 34 and Klopp. They sent out a statement to make sure no one did anything for this character, and of course, after they made that statement, there was more of it than there should have been.
Yeah.
Because his character would have just been ignored otherwise. He wasn't very interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that episode. But
it's the one where they're trading for the cup or whatever. The one
okay.
in the one in the wheelchair. That's Stellar Eclipse.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'll have to go back and look at that. I don't remember that episode too well. But anyway, every fandom, every group's going to have that, and there's always this burning question: how do you deal with them? You know, you don't want to. Especially if your fandom is about love and tolerance and acceptance, you're trying to find that balance between accepting but not promoting. You know, how can you accept these differences, but at the same time you've got to say we can't be supportive. Just a little aside, I'm a Unitarian, and one of the things that Unitarians, the haters, I guess you would say, will always say, oh, you're the group, anybody could join. Adolf Hitler could join it. Charles Manson could join it. And it's like, no, you don't get it. We're open. I mean, anybody can come and explore, anybody, but your behavior is paramount. You know, we're about social justice. We're about thinking about your actions and the impact it has. So Charles Manson and Adolf Hitler could not be part of our church. They would not be welcome. But people will sort of say, well, if you're about love and tolerance, you should accept it. No, we're not going to accept people who create other victims. We're not going to accept haters. We're not going to, which is, I think, ultimately kind of what the fandom will have to say too. Is that you know within boundaries, it's sort of like the main six. The others put up with Binky at times when she gets a little overboard, but that's a little different from having somebody who purposely does destructive things and then saying, we're going to somehow say that's okay. It can't be. It can't be ultimately. Otherwise you become this chaotic, anything goes, and then you're no longer the safe, friendly place because people are attacking anybody who comes and joins. All right.
Well, I think that's a good conclusion. This is going to be about 3 parts now, so it's been a great pleasure talking to you, Dr. Syke.
Well, thank you, Matthew.
Sparkspur.
Sparkspur. Okay.
Yeah. Got to use monikers or people don't respect you online.
Oh, okay.
So it's Dr. Syke, not Pat now.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I can live with that.
I think you've made me miss dinner. So.
Oh no! What time is it?
It's 6:15. So.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I told my wife. I said, it might be 6:30 or 7 before I get there. So. All right.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that one. Bye.